Flo's here. I'm worried about Flo. She had the extra second as well. She keeps yawning.
Didn't work for me.
Didn't work for you? It's not good, is it? Big focus today. Greece. What a surprise.
As you can imagine, let's start with the Greek papers. Let's start with Ethnos. It's a centrist paper. It talks about hour zero, of course, the hour being midnight. Midnight is when, well, that payment didn't go through to the IMF, so Greece is effectively in default. What you can see there is a photo of one of the massive demonstrations that are taking place in Athens. Of course, divisions are very strong between the yes and no camps ahead of a referendum scheduled for Sunday, a referendum on the terms of the bailout. Now, other papers are also focusing on this much anticipated referendum. Ephemerida, that's a center-left paper, focuses on the latest polls that actually put the no camp in the lead. So what you can see here is no, but, because it's a very tight race and things could change, obviously. Avgi, which is a pro-government paper, says that the no camp has actually been a catalyst for a new deal, and it focuses on a Greek leader, Alexis Tsipras. He's, of course, seeking an extraordinary new bailout deal from the EU, even though that loan repayment, well, the deadline passed. Yeah,
it did indeed, didn't it? Well, as always, of course, papers outside the country also keeping a very close eye on the events in Greece.
That's right. It's a huge story across the world. The Independent talks about Tsipras' last throw of the dice as he tries to get this extraordinary new bailout deal. German papers always keeping a very close eye on what's going on in Greece. Die Welt focusing on the historical aspect of the moment when that bailout expired at midnight. Greece became the first developed country to default on the IMF, joining countries like Somalia and Zimbabwe. Now, according to Die Welt, the Greek finance minister, Yanis Varoufakis, made a very bold offer to the Eurogroup yesterday. You can read about it in lots of the German papers today. This is an article in Focus, which is an online magazine. Basically, he said that Greece was ready to drop the referendum if he and his counterparts, other finance ministers, can reach an agreement. So it's quite a big revelation that you can read in the German press. Rather.
Okay, we shall see what developments there are during the day, of course. Cartoon time now here on France 24. You pulled out a little selection for us.
Here's the selection of the day. You know how much I love cartoons.
Yeah,
they tell the story so much better than articles do sometimes.
Yeah.
Chapat is one of my favorite cartoonists, and he does sum up the situation quite well in the New York Times today, basically showing the choice that Greek citizens are going to have in the referendum on Sunday, basically austerity or bankruptcy. And you can see one of the Greek citizens there saying, which form of poverty do we prefer? And our cartoon in China Daily today shows the devastating effect that any Grexit, so an exit from the Eurozone, could actually have on the Eurozone as a whole. You can see the Eurozone depicted as an acropolis there. It's wagging its fingers in a threatening way to Greece. It looks like it's about to flick Greece out of the Eurozone, but of course Greece is part of the very important pillar, so if it flicks Greece out, well, the whole thing could come tumbling down.
Exactly, summed up in the cartoons. Lots of papers as well, focusing on this British guy. He started a crowdfunding campaign, basically, to try and bail Greece out.
Why not? This is Tom Feeney. You can read about him in lots of papers. I pulled an article out of Time today. He said he wanted to do his part to solve the Greek financial crisis, one internet user at a time. So he's asking for donations via the crowdfunding site Indiegogo. Now the site keeps crashing, but if you want to donate, go to the page on Indiegogo. He's already raised this is the site on Indiegogo. He's already raised over $230,000. That's about 0.01% of what Greece needs. Now, Greece is so deep in the hole, as papers are calling it, that even if the site keeps raising the same amount per day, it'll take 24 years to reach the goal, which is $2.1 billion.
Well done to you if it was you who calculated that. I'm impressed. Let's move on to another story now. The Turkey military has reinforced its presence along its border with Syria.
That's right. This is getting attention in Turkish press, as you can imagine. Hurriyet talks about how Turkey is sending more weapons to the border. This move comes as there's a very heated debate in Turkey over whether or not Turkey should take military action in Syria. Lots of papers are focusing on this. I pulled a cartoon out of Asharq al-Awsat, that's a pan-Arab paper based in London, where you can see Turkey mulling over whether or not it should actually intervene in Syria. And you can see the fire that is the fighting in Syria. Well, it's already crossed the border into Syria, and it's about to set Turkey on fire. Interesting analysis piece in Libération, the French paper, that takes a look at what the president, Erdogan. What is he doing here? It says that he's actually playing a very dangerous game because he says that he's considering military action to stop the Islamic State group. Libe says that actually what he really wants to do is stop Kurds from taking power along the Turkish border. You can see they say that he's the sorcerer's apprentice. It's a dangerous game that could isolate Turkey and also reignite the Kurdish conflict in Turkey.
And finally, a story from Flo about a woman who's made history in the US.
That's right. This is an incredible story, a very sweet story about Misty Copeland. You might have heard of her. She's a ballerina, quite a famous ballerina, actually. Mm-hmm. She's quite a superstar in the ballerina world. Yeah. Now, Tuesday, so yesterday, she made history by becoming the first African-American dancer to be promoted to principal dancer at the American Ballet Theater. It's the first time in the American Ballet's theater's history, so first time in 75 years. It's a huge deal. You can read a really interesting profile of her in the New York Times. She sounds like an incredible woman, and it's a really sweet story that comes at a time, of course, when race relations are quite tense in the United States.
Good on her. Well done to her. Thanks very much, Flo. Flo with the papers.